I remember at 10 years old receiving my very first board game from my sister. It was a standard Ticket to Ride box. What is Ticket to Ride? I'd never heard of such a game. I'd heard of Monopoly, Clue, Connect Four, Battleship. What was Ticket to Ride? Well, Ticket to Ride is a Euro game or a European game, very different from the American games you might find here in the US. US games are typically pretty simple, kind of almost cartoonish, and let me explain what I mean by that. If you're looking at a typical game that's made in the US, such as looking at Connect Four by Hasbro Games or Milton Bradley, these games they're strategic and very simple, typically typically cheap made. Wasn't always that way, but in recent years, I don't know if you have ever bought Twister, but Twister used to be a really heavy fabric and was huge. Now it's small and it messes up every time you touch it. Connect Four used to be really solid. This is actually more solid one, but now they make them with cheaper materials. Whereas your European games, such as the ones I have here in my background, many of them have really great. Some of the qualities that come with them is really great boxes, very durable boxes. The artwork is pretty fantastic, very colorful, very vibrant, very detail oriented, and the quality of the pieces is typically very solid and very good. One of my favorite games that is a Euro game, it actually won Game of the Year in 1995, was a game called Settlers of Catan. I own a lot of games. I'm not going to tell you how many I own. This is a very small amount. But Settlers of Catan is still my number one absolute favorite game to play. If you ever wonder, like, oh, let's say you like board games, or maybe you never got into them, or they're childish, or maybe you still like to play them with your family and friends, maybe with your spouse, you like to play the games. How do you choose which game? Maybe you've been working so long, you don't even know what are the new games out there that are great. Well, I'd like to suggest to you a secret to figuring out what's a good game, even if you have no idea what it is. You can't necessarily always judge a book by its cover. Sometimes a great cover doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a great game. A great way to know whether a game will be pretty good, and you can assume it's probably going to have a good background to it, is a game that has won Game of the Year, or the Spiel des Jahres. I don't know how to say it correctly, but how do you know which game it is? Whenever you see a game that looks like this, for example, I think in 2018, Alhambra won, and how do you know? Or 2003, I mean. Alhambra, anytime you win the game of the year, you'll see this red logo with the golden wings coming out here. In order to get this stamp of approval on a board game, this game has to go through a ton of reviews, being judged against 100 other games, or maybe even more than that. And they get down to the final 3. And finally, if you win this game, you get the stamp of approval. You can win this game based on it's easy to play, fun to play, strategic. So you can pretty much assume that if you see this symbol, that's going to be a great game to purchase. And like I said, my absolute favorite game of all the games I own is a game known as Settlers of Catan. I highly recommend this game. I think it's a great family game. It's strategic. If you're not really into strategy, you're probably not going to like Settlers. But if you want to kind of get an idea of what it looks like, kind of click on the link right here and just take a look. It'll tell you how to play the game, and maybe you'll even want to purchase it, especially if you're stuck in quarantine. All right, that's signing out for me. Hope you enjoyed it.